All right, welcome to challenge 2. So in the first challenge, we wrote a function that turns on the ship. Okay, in the second challenge, our ship is still in trouble. It says modules not active. A quick check of the ship's module status board reveals an empty array labeled modules. Okay, first let's go back to our global objects. And if we look at ship, it does say that the modules you see is empty here. So I expect that we need to load some functions on our ship before it can work properly. Okay, you flip through the manual to the section labeled modules, where the first page describes a number of available modules. They are stored in memory in the available modules array. Each module is an object with 4 properties. So we don't have the available modules in the global objects here, but it is in the program. And so part of the challenge is to figure out what this looks like. So it says that available modules is an array. So first I'll put it as an empty array for now. And with arrays, I'll put in an example. It's basically a list of things, okay? And you can have a mix of numbers or integers, strings, booleans, true, false, or even objects. So usually we don't mix and match, all these different data types in an array, but you can if you wanted to. All right, so now we know what an array looks like. Let's see what each module should look like. So in the description here, each module is an object with 4 properties. Okay, so I will just make one up so you can see how to translate this description into code. All right, so the first property is the name, and it says that it should be a string. So I'll just name it module 1. Okay, so the size is an integer, so that means it's a whole number. Don't do decimals, that is not an integer. And then we have an enabled property, and it's a boolean. So booleans is either true or false. So I'll say false, and essential, I'll say it's true. Now we have more than one of these, so I'm just going to copy and paste and make a new module here so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so now we know that, let's just say we have 2 modules in here, and so I'll have to put them into my array. All right. And so now your available modules will have these 2 objects. And when the computer reads this line, essentially what's happening is this. It's actually replacing module 1 with the entire object here. And then with module 2, it's there. Okay, so if I wanted to, I could have made my available modules array look like this or look like this. So this is what the computer will see at the end. But reading this for us is much simpler, especially when we have like 100 of them, right? So this would end up being very long if we put in like 100 of these modules. Okay, so now that we know what available modules looks like, we can make our function called count modules to see how many there are to choose from. I have to say that I'm only doing this code to show you what it looks like. You do not do this in your own challenge, okay? So first, let's do function count modules. Okay, make my empty function. And to count an array, all we have to do is do available modules dot length. Okay, and we should return this value because we need to get the number back from this function. Okay, so if you want to put in like what the available modules look like, that's fine, but make sure you comment it out, okay? So I'll just, I'll take this out and I'll comment it out. So this is what you should have. The only things you should have is count modules and power on. And I always like to demonstrate what it looks like in the console. So to open this tab, you actually just do right click in your browser, click on inspect, and then you click into the console tab. So it's very simple. And since I want to demonstrate what the function looks like, I'll just uncomment this for now and put it into my console. So now my console has this variable. And I can do count modules. So I've defined a function, so I can now use it. And you see that it returns a length of 2, which is correct. So what happens if you don't have return? Like in the first function in power on, we don't have a return, right? So what we want to do, so what's going on here? So if you don't have return and then you count on, and then you use count modules, it's going to give you undefined because all you've done is run the code and you say, okay, just run the code and do nothing. But if you return, it's like run the code and give me the answer. And in power on, you don't need to return anything because you're just saying, like you're telling the computer, turn it on, and you don't have to tell me what happens after. Just make sure it's turned on. All right, so these are the concepts that you should be learning from challenge 2, and I'll see you in challenge 3.